What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Bass Life. I'm your host, Bob Adler, and if we got a great show for you today. If you love big water, smallmouth action, then you're going to love our guest. Our guest today is Ranger Shimano Pro, Cal Climpson, one of the young up-and-comers, just a phenomenal angler when it comes to big water smallmouth. I mean, he learned from one of the best, his father, Paul. So we're looking real forward to talking to Cal. We've got the Canadian Open coming up, and he's entered in it, and he's got to be one of the favorites. So it's going to be an awesome show. So what I want to do now, as usual, is introduce my co-host for tonight, and that is my partner, Joey Crumpton, everybody. Joey, what's going on, buddy?
How you doing there, Bob?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Yep. It's me in the flesh. Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to Cal as well. The guy's, like you said, he's an up-and-comer, and he's got some real credentials on his side and a great resume. And as you said, he's got the Canadian Open coming up this weekend, and I'm really rooting for the guy. I hope he does really well there.
I think that's also known as the Smalley Beatdown Weekend.
Yeah, well, you know what? It depends on who you are. I think if I went out there, it would certainly be, I'd be part of the beat down.
We'd be the beaten down.
Yeah, we'd be the beaten down for sure.
Well,
no, some of the bags these guys are pulling are incredible. Yeah, absolutely incredible.
I know. I mean, you and I used to fish Simcoe quite a bit back in the 2-day series there that CSFL used to have. But I mean, these guys nowadays, they got this stuff dialed in. Like they got it dialed in.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're doing exactly to dial in. I mean, maybe their little information can come forward tonight. But you know, at one point when you and I used to fish it, I used to start thinking to myself, maybe I'll do better with largemouth, because those giant smallies just never seem to want to come our way.
Well,
but,
we saw lots
like you said,
of them.
The guys who are dialed in. What's that?
Yeah, I said we saw lots of them, but then we couldn't get them to bite, right?
Yeah, no, they'd only come to our boat for shade. That was about it. They'd just come cruising over and just, you know, it's just like they'd flip us the fin and that's the end of it. But yeah, no, some of these guys are just
exactly what it was.
Tremendous results. Yeah.
So now we turned into Kawartha guys, and our first tournament's on July 18th on Scugog, which, I mean, we were out there last weekend. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, you know what? As much as I love smalley fishing, you know, it's I understand rock, I understand weed, but trying to catch smallies in the mud just never really made a lot of sense to me. So it's just I don't know, it's a bit of a needle in a haystack for us. So,
well, in a foot and a half of water.
Sure.
In a foot and a half of water.
Yeah, whatever.
So
yeah, the whole shoreline's nothing but 1.5 foot of water right now. So the water table's really down. Really down.
Maybe we're gonna have to get out. We're gonna have to do some big water stuff. We're gonna have to get cranked back on that, and I think our guest tonight is going to help us with that. So let's introduce him. He is a Ranger Extreme Marine Shimano G Loomis Pro, Cal Climpson. There he is. Hey, buddy.
Hey, Cal.
How are you, man?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good.
Yeah, we're doing great. You got to be excited for this weekend. This has got to be one of the highlights of the year for you, no?
It is, yeah. Every year, I really look forward to fishing Lake Simcoe, the Canadian Open. You know, trying to fish against the best guys around here. It's always something I look forward to.
Some of the sticks you're going to be looking. I guess the Johnson's going to be fishing this.
Yeah, I just got word. It was Corey sent me a text earlier today. He said the bass event on Cayuga got canceled, so they're going to be fishing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we got a freeze up on you, Bob.
Les Zachney's going to be there. I mean,
it's Les in too.
So, yeah, Les is in too. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Les is fishing it. My dad's Paul. He's in it. Corey and Chris. There's my buddy Steven, I think, pending some mechanical fixes. Stephen Haggerty and his dad Phil. There's a few guys in it that you know, they live on Lake Simcoe. They're gonna be guys that are tough to beat out there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, talking about your dad, let's go back and let's start from the beginning. I mean, obviously, I mean, we fished against your dad many years ago, and I mean, he was a stick back then. There's no doubt about it. And you learned from one of the
Mhm.
best. So, talk to us about how did that transpire?
You know, I can't remember my first time fishing because I was so little. So, you know, I was fortunate enough. I grew up with a pond in the backyard. I remember maybe 8 or 9 or 10. I'm not exactly sure, but during the summer when I was between school, off for the summer, I would go down every day, and I'm not exaggerating. I would go down every day and fish for the same 20 largemouth that live in the pond. And you know, I started doing that, and I was hooked from that age. And my first tournament, I think I was 11, I think. Dad took me out to Lake Simcoe. We did a little team event. I can't really recall much of it. I know we didn't do too great, but I can't even remember the circuit or anything like that. I was so young. So
Mhm,
it started when I was really young, and you know, through my teenage years, I fished some of the pro-ams as amateur. I
mhm.
fished team events with my dad. I fished team events with Les. I fished team events with a few other, uh, you know, with the pro-ams drawing guys. I guess that's team event for the day. So I've had a lot of guys, you know, that have taught me along the road, but mostly it's dad, obviously number one. Les is the second. I've fished the second most stuff with him, and JP DeRose fished. He's taken me out when I was a lot younger and show me the ropes too. He's showed me a lot of stuff too. So
Yeah, and these guys you're talking about are no slouches when it comes to smallmouth, big water smallmouth. I mean, they know what's going on. I mean, your dad fished GM Pro Bass, I think, back in the day, no?
yeah, he's fished that. There's a few guys. There's Bob Azumi, his brother Wayne. You know, Dad, Les, Ernie Jansen. There's a few guys that have been around, and they've been fishing tournaments for 40 years now, or close to it. So
And these are the guys you're getting the information from. That's awesome. I mean, they,
not,
you know,
not
Wow.
all of them, but a couple of
Never
them.
had
Yeah.
a mentor. Yeah, never had that. Never had the privilege of having a mentor. You know, it's always been the school of hard knocks for us. You know, and it's which is great. You know, like from a competitive level, it's always fun to give it a whirl. You know, but to have a few teachers along the way, it's definitely helpful. Definitely
Speeds
helpful.
speeds the learning curve up a lot. I'm really appreciative of these guys.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't be where I'm at in fishing today without the help of those guys for sure.
yeah, but that's also not to say that you're not putting in the hard work because I mean, you know, you can be told some things, but at the end of the day, you're still putting the hours in and time on the water. So I mean, you know, kudos to you. So,
Yeah, lots of that coupled with, you know, a lot of time on the water and figuring out the smallmouth actually. Dad's, if you know anyone that really knows him, he's a largemouth guy. So the smallmouth coming on in the last 10, 15 years, he's kind of learned as with me, and we both tried to, you know, figured it out
oh,
and
is that
learning
right?
from each other. Yeah, you know, he's always been a green fish guy. So
Really?
um, he transitioned to brown because that's what's winning the tournament. So you got to do what, you know, what's going to win.
That's
But
funny because that's the I mean, Joey and I when we first started, we were green guys too, and then it just there was a slow transition. Now we fish the Kawarthas mostly. But yeah, we turn to smallies on most of these bodies of water. We're looking for smallies all the time.
yeah,
Like, you know,
you got to, right. If you want to be competitive, it seems like that's the case. You can still, you know, weigh in a big green fish here and there, but the it seems like you know, the tournament, they're all won with 5 smallmouth nowadays. So
yeah, for sure. What
Yeah.
your first
Absolutely.
win 2014 was it?
that's
Like,
correct. Yeah, I won the Simcoe event, but back then it wasn't the Canadian Open. It was it was a second pro am after the Canadian Open, and I won
okay.
it on Simcoe. Yeah, so it's similar to this weekend, but this one's called the Canadian Open now. Back then it was in Kingston.
Yeah, I think Andy switches that back and forth. I think he's had it in Kingston for a while, and I guess is this the first year it's been back to Simcoe?
No, this is probably the third year now.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Um, So you and Les just absolutely annihilated the FLW Canada Cup last year. Tell me about that experience.
You know, it was just one of those things. A buddy of mine has a pretty good phrase. You roll out of bed and you win a bass tournament, and that's what happened to us.
Yeah.
You know,
I wish it was that simple.
It seems it's hard to explain really what happened. You know, Les called me up and said, "You want to fish the event on Quiddy?" And I said, "You know, sure, I'd love to. My dad's fishing with my younger brother in that one. He's getting into it now too. So
Oh,
I
cool.
said, we'll go with Les, and my brother can fish with my dad, and we'll just have a good weekend and go down and spend 3-4 days down in Trenton and have a good time, enjoy each other's company." And so I didn't think I didn't think this was gonna happen. So we went down and Les pre-fished for a day the day before. I was working all week, so I just showed up and fished with him.
Oh my God.
That was it? Are you kidding me?
No,
Come on.
You roll out of bed and you win a bass.
Oh my God, really?
I could use one of those. I could use one of those. I think any win we've ever had was always really hard fought. You got to spend your time on the water and that sort of thing. Because I think I read somewhere actually that when you were talking to somebody last year and it was written up that neither you or Les had ever broken the 20-pound mark there.
That's right.
Before you'd done the tournament. And
That's
here
right.
you are sitting at what? You got, it was 21 on the first. I can't remember all three, but they were all over 20. And of course the last day was just a crusher. And you're getting mixed bags too.
Yeah, it was we just decided. Les found one little spot, and it was a key part. He's pretty modest. He doesn't really say much up on stage. He says it's mostly small, but he found one key largemouth spot. We started there all 3 mornings. The first day we went there, we got 3 fish, and they were decent ones, like a couple 3.5s and a 3, which we're thinking great start on the Bay of Quinte.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
Said, you got any spots? And this is, not to say I haven't done the work, because I found this water in previous tournaments and practicing out there. I found a couple of these spots, and another spot buddies of mine have fished it, and they weren't fishing it, so I kind of knew it was close to where we were fishing, so I fished a little bit of that too. And we went there, fished, and we got like a 5.5 smallmouth, and then we got a 5 3/4, and we're calling out a couple of these largemouth, and Les is looking at me like, "I think we got over 20 pounds." And I go back there and look, and I said, "Yeah, I think we got about 22." And we ended up going in with 22 the first day.
Right.
We only got about 7 or 8 bites the first day. So, okay, we're sitting pretty good, and probably not going to happen day 2. We're not going to get 2 huge smallmouth like that. So we go out and start on his largemouth spot again, and first cast we get a 4.5 on his largemouth spot of the day, and Les is starting to scratch. He goes, "What's going on? This is
That's fabulous.
We get a couple more largemouth there. We every day it seemed like we left there with 2 or 3 fish, which was good. The first 5 minutes. So off we went to the smallmouth and the mix. We had a mixed bag area too. The one you could get green and brown, and the other one was pretty well just all smallmouth. So we go there and we fished all day, probably 4 hours, and we got one largemouth, maybe 2. We had 5 by 2 o'clock. They were all largemouth, and we had about 17 pounds. So we're, again, pretty content, 22 and 17.
Yeah.
Still good 2 days of fishing out there.
Absolutely.
And in the last half hour of the day, we double headed a 4.5 and a 5-pound smallmouth. Les got his on a flipping stick with 20-pound fluoro, and because we were double headed, he boat flipped his in, and then netted mine.
Oh, no kidding.
So now we're Les is really scratching it. He goes, "What is going on? Like, this is silly." And we had 21, I think 21:30, if I remember right, the second day after those 2 calls.
Yeah.
So, okay,
nice.
3-day tournament. We're thinking, it's been good to us the first 2 days. We might come in with a 11 or 12 pound sack the last day.
Yeah.
Which I've done before.
You're not
multiple
going to
times.
predict it, obviously.
The Bay Quinny's tough, especially in August.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not an easy spot. You can easily have 10, 11, 12 pounds. So we were just hoping we could get 16, 17 and probably a good shot at winning it. So I think we said, we talked to each other after the second night. What do you think we should do? Well, let's keep doing the same thing. It's worked so far. So off we go to Les's largemouth spot. First cast of the day again. You're not going to believe this. 4.75 largemouth.
Oh, way.
Wow.
And Les is about doing on the back deck.
Is this a large area? Was it a large area you were fishing, or was it just like a spot on a spot?
Just a little spot on a spot. It was a pile of rock beside a weed bed, and there was a big one sitting on it. Every morning we'd come up to the waypoint and pitch in, and at first cast, day 2 and 3, we caught a really quality fish, especially for the Bay. Like, it's a great fish.
Oh yeah.
So
that's phenomenal.
Les and I are high-fiving. We lost 3 fish there. So we said, okay, those are the first 3 fish we lost 3 in a row. Okay, the luck's starting to run out a little bit. We put our heads down. We fished for a little bit longer. We left there with just 1 the last day, but we should have had our 3 or 4, kind of like what we had all.
You had the bite, so.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we took off to our second and third spots, the same as day 1 and 2, and we were fishing along probably for about a half an hour or 40 minutes, and Les is starting to get a little antsy. He's thinking in the back of his head, I got a spot we can get a bunch of 2.5s, but it's all the way in Hay Bay, which is about a
old Hay Bay.
So
I know Hay Bay. Yeah.
He's starting to contemplate. He goes, well, we should run there. We'll have 15, 16 pounds. We'll win. I said, relax, Les. I said, just let's fish up to where we double headered yesterday, which is it's just a little stretch we're fishing. We're fishing into the wind, so we're moving up really slowly. And I said, let's just do that, and then we'll make a decision. He goes, yeah. He agreed. He said, let's keep our heads and not start to run around like a chicken with the head cut off, right?
Yep.
So sure enough, we get up to that exact waypoint, and Les catches a 3.5. And he's all excited, high fives me, and I got the trolling motor on spot lock, and he puts it in the well after I net it for him, and I get up and I see one under the trolling motor, and I drop down, and it's a 582.
Oh no!
Oh my God! Holy shit!
And he hit it.
Yeah, he bit it. As soon as I closed my bail, I had him on, so I dropped right under the boat and caught that.
Wow.
So Les is now like he's grinning ear to ear. He's all excited. We're doing good. We're doing good. So we fished there another 20 minutes. All right, let's go check the largemouth and smallmouth spot, which is only about a mile away. So we just pop up on pad and go back down. And Les throws out and he catches a 13-inch smallmouth, so 14 inches maybe. So we put it in the box, and he starts joking with me. He goes, oh, they're really going to think we won't have them. I'm going to hold that one up first when I come in to weigh in with it. Yeah. So we're kidding about that, and I throw out and I get a 4.4 largemouth on a drop shot in the Bay, where normally there's smallmouth there, but there was a largemouth there for some reason. So we put that in now, and now we've got, is that right? We got 5. Yeah, we got 5.
Yeah.
And so we're excited. We got probably 18 or 19, maybe 20. I'm not quite sure, with that little squeaker in there.
Yeah.
And as that's happening, there's a rain storm coming across the bay.
Okay.
So this is just you roll out of bed and you win a bass tournament. I put the trolling motor on spot lock again. Apparently that's the ticket here, is putting the trolling motor on spot lock. And I put on my rain gear. Les puts on his rain gear, and I get up to the trolling motor, and I see 2 under the boat, and I drop down and I get a 590 smallmouth.
Oh,
good. And we throw out the 13-incher, and Les and I look, and he goes, we got 24. And
my God.
We do.
That's
And
incredible.
this all happened in about 40 minutes, from 10 to 10:40 in the morning. We fished the rest of the day. We didn't get a single bite the rest of the day. And we fished, we went in about 15 minutes early, maybe. That's it. And that was it. We caught 7 fish all day, and one was 13 inches. That's it.
Say, well, that kind of blows my next question out of the water, because I was going to ask you how much of electronics played a role. It doesn't sound like it played a role at all.
A little bit with the ones under the boat. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. So when you say the ones under the boat, like they were deep under the boat, and you saw them on your graph?
Yeah, on the graph. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought they were just like right there.
No, it's too muddy to see in the bay, and we were fishing like 15 feet of water. So, yeah, I saw them on my Garmin's. They just looked down and saw a couple arches, and I knew they're bass under the boat. You can tell, we were seeing a lot of bait and panfish and stuff, but the smallmouth showed up with a lot more of a pronounced arch. And right away, like I reeled in my drop shot and dropped it right under the trolling motor when I saw those, and caught 2 of them that last day doing that.
So that's on 2D. That wasn't even on live scope or anything like that.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
I got live scope going, but those ones were directly under the boat, and I saw them on my clear view, which is which is down, the straight down imaging.
Right.
Wow.
Right. What just on that topic, for smallmouth, big water smallmouth in general, how much does electronics play a role for you?
It depends on the time of year. Earlier in the year, it's more sight fishing what I'm doing, so you can see the fish swimming. You're fishing 5, 8, 10 feet, but you get into August and into the fall, September and onwards, it plays a big role. You're marking fish, you're marking structure with side imaging, using pan optics out in 15, 20, 25 feet. You can stay back kind of off the spot and see if the fish are there before you get right up on top of them.
Yeah.
It's definitely the stuff to use. It's very useful. You gotta spend a lot of time using your electronics to be effective at catching them out in those depths.
And do you have the cone of shame, as Eric Luzak would like to call it?
I do have one of those. Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Do you use it?
There's our seasons up here. There's not a ton of, maybe the odd, you get a cold spring and you get a tournament where there's still some fish at the tail end of spawn. I'd use it, but we don't, like this year. I'm not going to use it. I bet you in one tournament, because they're all pretty well done spawning.
Yeah. Last year you probably would have used them a lot. We had a pretty cold spring last year. Yeah.
It would depend too if there was a tournament on a body of water where they still were, which I'm trying to think if I even, because the Simcoe opener doesn't happen anymore. Hasn't happened in 3 or 4 years. So
yeah.
I'll definitely use it if need be. But
do you ever find situations where you have to target suspended bass and you successfully get them?
That's a good question.
I don't think I've ever caught much suspended bass, if any, up here. I don't think they do that a lot. I think in the past they used to do it a little more, but because of gobies, I think the fish are, like, when I'm catching them deep, shallow, they're always right on bottom.
Right.
You can see them on your electronics, right? Half a foot off the shore, off the bottom of the lake.
Really? So you don't feel like using crankbaits or using jerk baits and that sort of thing? You don't find that as effective as using like the bottom technique?
They're still effective baits, and I think the fish though are still are still a foot off bottom or so, but the water's so clear they just come up and will eat it. Right. Jerkbait, crankbait. I'll have them tied up this weekend. There's definitely an application for them. They'll still come up and bite a wounded bait fish imitation, just like either of those do. So.
What about spy bait, Cal? I mean, we had David from Duo Realis on last week, and that seems to be a technique that guys are getting on for big fish. How about you? Is that something you're into?
I've been toying with it the last couple of years. Haven't caught a ton on it yet, but I'm still learning. I'll have it tied on this weekend too. I'll probably have 15 different baits on my deck for Simcoe this weekend. So.
Oh yeah.
Well, speaking of Simcoe, okay, so Canadian Open again, pretty big deal here for us Canadian. That's a big tournament with a lot of heavy hitters in it. What's the strategy going into a tournament like this for you?
Well, I'm gonna go out pre-fish tomorrow and Friday. I was at work Monday to today, so I came home a little early and was getting some stuff ready. We were chatting just before the show there. Yeah. Getting a few things done. But I'm going to go out tomorrow and Friday, and that's really going to determine what I do from there. I'm going to try to put a little pattern together. It looks like we're going to get a big weather change just in time on Saturday for the tournament, of course. So I think practice is going to be limited in terms of where the fish are going to be for the weekend, but you can kind of get an idea of their depths and where they're around. They never go very far when they do move. So I'm going to go out and just get a little feel for what's going on. I think that's what my strategy is going to be right now, but I'm going to let the fish tell me and make corrections as I go.
And do you find that does that change from year to year? Like you say, they don't move very far, but do you always have to go out there? Like you can't rely on stuff from the previous year. Do you always have to find new stuff?
Typically, yeah, you're looking for new stuff. That's generally what I do in practice is look for new, and the last day maybe check what I already know. So I'm always trying to expand on what I know on the given lake. That's normally good spots are still good spots, so they'll probably hold fish, but populations of fish move around, and seems like different areas of the lake are a little bit more effective in some years than others. So I'll definitely still not get stuck on old ways because that can burn you too in a hurry. 2 years ago.
I think for us, I think last time we were there, right, Joey? Like we're talking Thor and Strawberry. That's
Strawberry. Georgina, out around Georgina. Yeah, and like I said, I've seen more fish than I've ever caught on that body of water for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I don't know if there's such a thing as trying to trigger a bite from fish that you see, because anytime I see them, I never catch them. I don't know. Maybe some people have techniques for that application, but for the most part, no. I remember one time when you and I were out in Moon Shoal. There was hundreds. It was
I know.
Ridiculous. Hundreds. And I'm looking at Bob and I said, look, Bob, they're coming towards the boat. Start casting. Well, they're coming to our boat for shade. That's all it was. And they were just sitting under our boat. We're like, what? No, and we didn't even get one there, I don't think. But there was hundreds.
But Joey, keep in mind, okay, the last time you and I fished a tournament on Simcoe, there was no such thing as a drop shot. Okay, so that's how long ago it was. There was no drop shot. It was a drop shot.
Yeah, I know. It was the tube.
Yeah, spinner bait, jerk bait tube, and that came straight out of John McDonald's mouth. That's
Oh yeah. Oh, he used to perch his dad at the back of the boat with the spinner bait, and he'd just throw the jerk bait all day long. And they always did really well. Do you still see an application for tube fishing, Cal?
Yep, 100%. I'll have 2 or 3 tied up this weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. Really? Yeah.
Still,
that's interesting.
See, now I heard that the bottom was so slimy there for a few years you couldn't throw anything on the bottom.
Yeah, certain spots, if you can throw it, I will. But if it's too slimy in areas, then you got to go to a drop shot or something, get your bait off the bottom a little bit so you can actually fish it. But the Lake Simcoe smallmouth, just to just to attest what you said, they are the most difficult fish in all of Ontario, I think, to catch. They're very ignorant. They're hard to
Yeah.
catch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very hard.
Spooky. Very spooky.
If they see you,
Yeah.
if you know, the same thing happens to me. They swim to my boat and sit under the boat for shade, and you drop a bait on them.
Yep.
Yeah. No.
You're not getting them. They're tough to catch. Yeah. They're smart.
Oh, you can see 24 pounds under your boat. That doesn't mean you got 24 pounds.
That's right.
You know.
No, so you find Lake Erie like a totally different strategy if you went to say Lake Erie or Thousand Islands or
then Lake Simcoe?
Yeah.
Yeah, generally, especially this time of year, that on the Great Lakes, they seem like they're starting to transition out a little deeper now, like they're on the breaks and stuff from their spawning areas. The Lake Simcoe fish seem to stick around and feed on all the craw. There's an abundance of craw out there. Like I've had a few times I'm out pre-fishing or just out fun fishing out there, and you touch your trolling motor and about 100 of them just scatter, and you'll drift about 20 yards and you'll touch your trolling motor again and another 100 scatter. So you can see that's what they're eating when you catch them, because they're spitting up orange pincers and stuff and crayfish chunks and full live. I've had one hooked and it shakes its head and a whole full live crayfish comes out its gill plate and swims away.
Wow.
So it literally just ate the craw and then swam over and ate my bait.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Oh, one time we actually saw something similar to that. Yeah, it's in Shingle Bay. And we were only in about 6 feet of water, but you could actually see all the crayfish just crawling around. And then I saw something from a distance and I wasn't sure what it was. It just kept going from side to side to side. And I go, what the heck is that? It was a smallmouth coming in. He was scooping them all up. Yeah. And it was just the motion that the fish was going through to scoop. Like he must have had his meal in like 60 seconds. But there was there was hundreds of them down there.
I don't think they stop eating them either. They'll just keep eating them and eating them and eating them, because you catch one and they're like pre-spawn size but post-spawn. So to answer your question, Simcoe generally in July is one shallow. The fishery is a shallow fishery this time of year because all the craw are shallow. And the Great Lakes, they're almost like, I think at least down in the St. Lawrence, if I remember right, Bruce Tufts put out a little graph about their approximate diet, and I think it's in the 80% is goby or approaching 90%. So that's all they're eating, and the goby go out a little deeper too in the summer too. So the fish on Erie and Lake Ontario, it's definitely a little different. You're fishing the specific lake each time. Everything that works on one lake won't work on other lakes.
Same technique, so Cal?
Similar, yeah. Like the go-to basics like tubes and drop shots and jerk baits and crank baits, they all work on all the smallmouth lakes up here. You can catch fish on those. It's just if you have to make adjustments like your weight you're using and your line size and stuff like that.
Well, what would you like? What if you were having a difficult time catching them or getting to go? What adjustment would you make? Rod wise or line wise to make things happen for you?
I definitely downsize. The old go-to playbook is downsize a little bit on your line and downsize maybe the bait if you can, and try and get one to bite. Sometimes a reaction bite works too. Like I've heard of guys kicking the crap out of them on Lake Simcoe dead calm with a spinner bait. So it's all, you just got to, I think, start rotating through baits and see what they want on that specific day. Some days they'll eat a swim bait, and you go back the next day and all they'll eat's a tube. So it's real finicky. It's kind of silly at times, but that's what makes it fun.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
No rhyme or reason, right? So, I mean, I think Danny Dunn was telling me a story too about he was trying to get him on jerk baits, and they'd follow up, wouldn't hit it, threw the spy bait out there and just smashed him. Like, it's just, you know, they're funny that way. They're finicky fish for sure.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Oh,
it's like, I remember back in the day. You remember Rob Otram and Greg Klott? They were great smallmouth fishermen. And it didn't seem to matter what body of water they were on. But whenever they fished Simcoe, like you said, all they ever used was either a jerk bait or a tube. And those were the only two. And they said either one, but it was specifically one or the other on any given day. And no rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah, I got George came into the show there. He was asking, does Cal throw a spy bait? And it's like, yeah, if he needs to.
I got a bit of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Now, when you're talking about line, like how far down will you go? You go to 4 pounds, 6 pound? Like, will you go that low or just 8?
Generally just 8, but
okay.
I do have 6 pound in my boat, but
that's a scary proposition.
Yeah, you know, I've tried it, and you break off fish, and you got to be really careful if you do use it. So, but
yeah.
8, 10, you know, sometimes I'll use 12, like on a spinner bait, or, you know, on a crankbait, I'll have top 12 pound tied up. When you're throwing a reaction bait, they don't have as much of a chance to see your line you're throwing, so you can beef it up a little bit there. But you know, I definitely don't go to 4. And if I tried and I jumped in the boat with my dad and he saw a spool of 4 pound tests, he'd kick me right out of the boat right there.
He'd probably beat your ass right there and say, "What are you doing, man?"
Yeah.
He's like, not in this boat. You're not throwing 4 pound tests.
Yeah, no kidding.
Only for a perch festival.
Yeah, for perch, ice fishing, whatever.
Yeah. No, but you do hear rumors. I mean, people do say things like that, you know, that they're using 4, and I'm kind of like, are you for real? I mean, gee, you get spooled before you could even hope to bring them in, I would think. So.
Yeah, and you run into fish care issues too, right? You fight a fish on 4 pound test, you could fight it for 5 minutes and it's gonna be all wore out, and then, you know, you want to try and keep them alive to let them go at the end of the day in a tournament. So that's another thing you have to think about. If you go down really low on the line, you got to fight your fish a long time.
Yeah. Do you use the blue stuff that we all use for the live wells there to kind of stone them?
I use it. Yeah. I use G juice.
Yeah.
I've used it the last few years. There's some studies that say it doesn't do anything, but to me, it's just like a placebo. You know what? It certainly doesn't harm them. So I put it in. I use a lot of ice in the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. That's funny you say that, because I think there was a tournament on Quinny, and a kind of one of these underground deals this year where it was just an invitation only. And, you know, I know George is in the comments here, and I know George knows better, but if you're going out fishing this time of year with this kind of heat, you don't have ice on your boat, shame on you, because we all know better. Like, those live wells they start to steam up. Like, I don't care if you got it on recirc or anything else, you got to have ice. And I think a lot of these guys on Quinny didn't have ice, and they had some fish issues back a couple weeks ago. So
it's been so hot. Like, must have had 15 days already over 30. So
yeah. Well, I think if I'm not mistaken, Andy and I talked about this last year, because there was an issue with the fish, and I just told him, I said, you know, on certain days where it's over a certain temperature, you make it mandatory at blast off that you have 3 bags of ice, or you don't blast off. Simple as that. You know.
Yeah. I get like 12 bags for a day on the blue.
Oh wow.
Oh really?
My boat has enough storage for it. I've seen guys that also get 10 or 12 bags, and they got a cooler down by their console with the extra ice in it. I start every day with 6 bags, 3 in each side, because my live well has a double door, so I do 3 in each side, and I fill it up, and generally recircuit until about 9-10 in the morning, maybe a little longer if I haven't caught any fish yet. And put a bit of G juice in, and I change that out 2 or 3 times throughout the day, but I recirc once it's cool. And I got a little temperature gauge and I check it. I get it down to like 60, 62.
Okay.
You know, the fish, you catch a smallmouth, you see how dark normally they are, and they got really nice colors and bars. And I found when you don't ice, they go a little pale, even though they're alive. You know, they're a little pale, and you go to grab them at the end of the day, and they don't fight you, and you just put them in your bag. Well, you use that, you know, you ice your live well and keep that temperature down in the low to mid 60s, and they're as dark as when you caught them. You caught them 6 hours earlier, and you go to grab them, and they just chew your fingers off. Like it makes a huge difference. They're really healthy when you keep the heat down in your live well on them.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize too. I mean, you're catching these fish in 15, 20 feet of water. I mean, you know, the temperature down there is not what surface temperature is.
No,
That's right.
if you're drawing surface temperature, you're definitely drawing hot water, you know, and you can kill your whole bag just from the surface temperature, especially during the course of the day, because it's still pretty cold down in 30 feet, you know.
That's right.
George is asking, he's asking, do you get many more bites on 6 pound versus 8?
No, not a big difference in bites. A bigger difference in broke off fish, but not a bigger difference in bites. Some you know, I guess on any given day it could make maybe an extra difference, maybe an extra bite or two. They're being extra finicky or whatever. But I used to use 6 more, and I was losing too many fish, and I've transitioned back up to 8 the last couple of years, and still catch fish. And I don't know. I think it's borderline if it makes a difference or not. I know it's harder to land them with 6, so that's for sure. Yeah.
Danny, we already Cal already answered that question. Danny Dunn's asking, he says, do you use any water treatment? So that G juice we were talking about, and ice, and he's asking if you have any oxygenators or vents.
I have no vents. If he's talking about the ones in the top of the lids, I don't have those, but I have one oxygenator, and I have. The other thing too is I leave my aerator on all the time. It's not on the timer. Yeah. Yes. So even though I'm on recirc for 2 or 3 hours before I change and put some more fresh water and add some more ice, it's always on. The aerator's always on constant. Yeah.
See, that's what I do. Like I leave the aerator on constantly, and then depending on what the water temperature is and how hot it is, sometimes it'll be on constantly. And other times I'll put it on the timer, but a lot of times it's just on, period.
That's good. That's what you need to do.
Yeah. You ever caught, you said your dad was a green guy. So, I mean, he obviously catches largemouth on Simcoe back in the day. Where would you go for that?
You know, I've only caught a handful of largemouth out there in my life. Back in the day, everyone used to run to Cook's Bay. So there'd be a tournament out of Barrie, a tournament out of Aurelia, and it would be a race down the lake into Cook's Bay. Yeah. I imagine there's still a whole bunch in Cook's Bay. And there's some up in the north end, and there's some around Georgina that live around there. That's where I've caught a couple I've caught 1 or 2 in Cook's Bay, and I've caught a couple around Georgina and a couple up north. I don't know if you remember, maybe it was 4 years ago now. Chris Johnson won the Simcoe Pro-Am, and he had a 6.7 largemouth on the last day.
I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember that.
He told me he caught it.
Go for that.
He caught it first cast of the day in a smallmouth spot. If you can believe that. You know what? I go, they're not only good, but they get lucky too.
Oh, God. I don't think I've ever rolled out of bed and caught a 6 or.
Well, those are bonus fish. Same with.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, not well. I think I did once, but on Tri-Lakes, that was in the morning on a trick worm. But no, it's funny, you know, like you say, same deal like you were talking about on Quinny. smallmouth and largemouth spots and largemouth and smallmouth spots. That seems to be, I've heard that quite a bit. I don't know what that's all about. It's just luck of the draw, I guess.
Seems like it. Like they'll coexist if the structure's right. I think smallmouth like a bit of weed rock, and if there's a largemouth prefer more weed, but they like rock too. I think that's the key. If you get a little bit of a mixed area, not just totally rock and gravel, it's got a bit of weed, a little bit of coontail or milfoil or something like that, you can get both species living on it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Danny's Danny, that was Joey's 7-pounder on a popper. Yeah, Danny's asking about didn't you guys catch a giant on a popper? And that was Joey. That was actually Joey was fishing with his other partner at the time. I don't think Joey and I had hooked up at that point, and he had caught a 7-pounder on a popper.
Yeah, that was in a tournament, and it was back in those days. I was running a popper with 8-pound mono, and I got a 7.1 on it. And it's it was a behemoth, but I've never seen a 7-pounder like that since. But I mean, do you ever play the popper game or topwater game at all, or?
Very little for me, and that's probably one of my weak points in fishing is the topwater stuff. And I did get a topwater rod the last couple of years because my dad was busting my chops, but I don't know how to throw a topwater. So I got a rod, and I got a box of topwaters now. But
nice.
I've only thrown it a handful of times. I used to when I was back when I was 9-10 years old in the pond. That was my favorite bait, was a popper. That's what I threw all the time. But it seems like it's not of an effective tool in a tournament. It can be for sure. Every bait has their place and time, but you don't hear of a bunch of tournaments being won up here on a topwater.
Yeah.
Not really. Sometimes in the quarters you do.
Yeah, do you?
Yeah, sometimes in the quarters you'll hear guys that have got them on topwaters all day long. But topwaters can be a bit of one of those. It's like a misnomer. I mean, if you get too hooked into it, I mean, they're either on it or they're not. And if you spend too much time on it, you're missing critical time that you could be using something else to get your fish first thing in the morning. But when they're on it, they're on it.
I've heard
our classic win, topwater played a significant role.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it was a majority role on the last day. I think 4 of the 5 came on that.
Yeah.
But I started throwing it because I kept hearing rumors that they were missing fish on like spook type baits. So I just thought for the heck of it, I'd just throw a popper out on the last day of the classic. And I think it was the second cast we picked up 1 over 4. So I just stuck it out all day, and they were biting on the top water all day long there.
Huh.
So it can happen.
So Cal, don't think of it as your dad busting your chops on the top water. Just he's expanding your horizons. That's all.
That's what he's doing. But that's what he says. He's he sometimes straightens me out and says you're getting a little too stuck in your ways. Because he says you're missing fish. So he's trying to teach me. I'm 30 in another month, and
oh my
still
God.
Yeah, really.
To be 30 again. Are you kidding me? Oh my God.
Wow.
He's still teaching me lessons. So that's good.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Your dad would be my age. Yeah.
Yeah. How old's your dad?
60. He's going to be 60. His birthday's this Friday. 60. He's born in 58. So what's that? 62.
He's 62. Yeah, I'm 63. So we've been at this game for a long time, but holy smokes, I'm still not bored of it. I still love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I mean, look at Les. Les is getting up there too, and he's getting like a rebirth in fishing and loving it. And so is Derek Goldie. He's come back on track, and he hasn't tournament fished, I don't think, in like 10 years. And all of a sudden, there he is. He's on Facebook and he's doing his thing again. So, which is great.
we got that old crusty guy Danny Dunn, and he's still out there doing his thing. So,
yeah. Did you tell Danny that I caught one on a crankbait finally? I caught one on his STX.
Oh, the STW, the STW, yeah.
All right. Oh, the STW, right? Sorry, but yeah, no, I finally. So I thought I'd make Danny proud to catch a fish on that thing, and I did. I did on Trilix.
That's cool.
So,
That's cool. All right, Cal. I know
know.
you're gearing up all your stuff. You're getting ready to go pre-fishing, so we don't want to keep you too long. Buddy, best of luck on the weekend. You're gonna smash them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Yeah.
that, guys.
Yeah.
We'll see. Gonna go put in some.
From our end, we'll be rooting for you.
Thanks. Gonna go.
Yep.
Yeah, do some homework
pleasure.
the next 2 days and see what we can pull together this weekend, and maybe get a little side bet going with the old man.
No, for sure.
Yeah, there you go.
You have to.
Yeah, that's all good.
Folks,
that's
if you're seeing this after the fact, I think you can see the live stream of the weigh-in on csfl.ca, I believe it is.
Yeah.
So check that out. And again, Cal, thanks for coming on the show. You're an awesome guest. It was very informative. And go get them this weekend, bud.
All right. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.
Hail to the M6. Good luck to you.
All right, buddy. Thanks.
See ya.
All right. Wow. Great angler, man.
Yeah. Very nice guy too. Very humble.
He's very awesome. Humble. I mean, his dad was an awesome angler, and I mean, like I said, you talk about the guys that he is around. I mean, his father Paul, Les Acne, Ernie Jansen. I mean, these guys.
All the best.
These guys are pretty much legends around here on Big Water, right? So I mean, he's doing well, be hanging around those guys. So
absolutely. Well, you know what? Half the time, like I really believe in this industry after having been in it for so long that, information is everything. It really is. You learn your depths, you learn your baits, you learn how to cycle through the various baits, and if you're trying to learn it from from like a newbie standpoint, it's a long process. It's a very long process.
It is, but yeah, no, it looks like he's got it down. Danny Dunn is saying he's an awesome guy and he comes from good stock, and Danny ought to know he knows Paul very well. So yeah, that was really awesome. Joy, dude, great job. Thanks for being on the show, bud.
My pleasure.
And
as always.
We will try to muddle through Scugog on the weekend. Oh my God. Yes, we did. We did talk about the FLW win. I know, the mud bog. It's unbelievable. Yeah, actually, Danny's coming in here asking if we talked about the FLW win. Yeah, absolutely, we did. Absolutely,
yeah,
we went in depth. So when I put the show up for record there, you can see it. So all right, so
yeah.
Okay, Joey, I will pick you up Saturday morning, and we will go see what we can do on the bog.
Sounds great, buddy. Okay. Sounds great. I look forward to it. Until then.
See you then. Okay. Bye. Okay, guys. Great show. Thanks again, Cal Climpson, for coming on. And if you like the video, then hit like, hit subscribe. We'd appreciate it. And until next time, we will talk to you later. Have a great week, everybody.